and we'll share it into the group. Hi guys, I think we're live. This is only my second Facebook Live ever, so we're still working out some of the kinks. But I believe you should be live. I should be live on our service dog page. I'm just going to double check it and then we'll get started. What do you think, little guy? Do you need my computer? Come here, come here. Okay. There, I heard myself on the computer, so I know it's working. All right, so this is our newest service dog candidate. He does not have a name yet, if anybody has ideas. One person recommended Noble, and then we got a Striker, but I have a dog named Striker, so we can't use that one. So if anybody has any other ideas, shoot them our way. He is a, what are you, 9 weeks? 9 weeks old? Something like 9 weeks old. He is a golden doodle, and he is probably going to be a diabetic alert dog, but we also train psychiatric assistance dogs as well, so we'll kind of just wait and see what he wants to do when he grows up. So he moved in Saturday, so he's been living with me for a couple of days until we find him a puppy raiser home. And so the only training that we've done has been house training and a little bit of crate training. And that is it. Other than that, I have not trained this little guy at all. So if you have any questions, so we're going to jump in and we're going to do his first training session. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and add them into the chat even while I'm training. Jessica is sitting right behind the scenes here to read out questions out loud or answer any that she feels good answering. So what I wanted to just talk about really quick is how the first month of training goes in our program. So with our service dogs, the first month is less about what we teach and more about the type of learner that we are creating. So when I first started training service dogs, I learned the term advanced beginnings from the wonderful trainers at Service Dogs Inc. in Texas, and they train mobility dogs and hearing dogs. And this concept basically means that we can create an advanced learner by capitalizing on these early training sessions. I'm just gonna mute my computer so you don't hear all the dings in the background. So by capitalizing on these early training sessions, we can create an advanced learner. So an advanced learner is what we want all of our service dogs to be. They're the dogs that make training look like magic. They are focused, optimistic, they want to train, they learn quickly. They're easy to reinforce, they're not picky eaters. They're happy to take dog food and dog treats and hot dogs. It doesn't always have to be, fresh ground liver mixed with whatever. So, this month is less about getting through a list of behaviors and more about creating the type of learner that will be a successful service dog later on down the road. And so that means that sometimes, most of the time actually, how we train something is far more important than what we train. So just as an example, later in another live, maybe we'll show you this. We're going to teach him eventually to sit on a dog bed. And there are lots of ways to teach a dog to sit on a dog bed. I'm going to shape it. And so shaping is something that you'll want to look up online if you're not familiar with that term. We do a lot of clicker training. We're going to show you that in a second here. Shaping sometimes takes longer to teach a behavior than, say, luring. So if I had a dog bed sitting here, I could put a treat in front of his nose and lure him onto the dog bed. That might be faster, but it doesn't help me create an advanced learner. So we want to spend all of our training time making sure that we're training in a way that teaches him how to be a problem solver, okay, how to be a good learner. So today, the first thing that we're going to do is introduce the clicker. And I just have to get the treats. We had to hide them on a high shelf because this little guy is a climber. Aren't you? You better put them back on the shelf. Yeah. Come here, come here, come here. pretty naturally focused and treat driven, and that is good. That's what we look for in a service dog. That's why his breeder sent him to us, or one of the reasons she sent him to us. Come here. Come here, come here, come here. So, he has not done any training. So I guess the first thing before we can introduce the clicker is we're going to remind him how to take treats from somebody's hands. Hey, puppy. So he's trying to find the treats. He's sure I've put them on the ground somewhere. And he's actually a pretty good problem solver naturally. Now he's over towards the shelf I just put the whole treats on. Good. Here. Come here. And so what I'm going to do first to try and solve this problem where he keeps leaving is I'm just going to reinforce him every time he's in front of me and kind of giving me his attention. I'm going to give him a treat for free. Well, it's not for free because it's for offering attention. And if this doesn't work in a minute or two, we'll put him on a leash. But again, going back to that advanced beginnings thing, I could talk to him and I could try to really get his attention, but I want to create a dog who gives me his attention voluntarily, and so I want to work that into our very first training session. So, cool. So I already have a little guy who's standing in front of me because apparently that's where the treats come. There. Here. So now that I actually have his attention, we're going to introduce the clicker. So if you haven't looked at, if you're not experienced with clicker training at all, this is a clicker. It makes a little clicky sound. I should have grabbed my colored one so you could see it better. This one's clear. So this is a clicker. And if you're not familiar with clicker training, you should make yourself familiar with clicker training because it's a great way to train all dogs, but especially service dogs. So the first thing I need to do is just click and give him a treat. And we're going to do that sort of 5 or 6 times just to build that association so that he understands what the click means. Because what the click means is a treat is coming. It means you've done the right thing. Here's your treat. And so first, we have to build that association before we can teach anything. And what I'm going to do is wait for him to put his feet back on the ground so that we're building politeness in. Because right now, this little, 6-pound puppy jumping on me, it's kind of cute. A couple months from now, it'll be really annoying. And since I'm creating an advanced learner, good, I'm going to wait for him to figure it out on his own. All right, so we'll do one more. Excellent. Now we're going to move into an attention game where we're going to click, I'm going to click for eye contact, and then I'm going to toss the treat away from me. So I'm going to wait for him to look up at me, click, and then toss the treat. Now I toss the treat because now he's away from me, and he has to purposefully decide to come back and give me his attention again. So he looks at me, I click, and then instead of handing him the treat, I toss it to him. And he has some good determination. Most puppies would have given up on that treat. It went pretty far, but he decided to go find it. And he's got an excellent nose, which means that he'll make an excellent diabetic alert dog if that's the way that he goes. And so now he's off exploring again. He's looking for more treats on the ground. And he's off camera, just barely. You maybe can see his butt a little. And so I'm going to wait for him to offer me his attention again, and then click. We're always, especially in these first stages, looking for offered attention. I think my cat is trying to get in. My cat is not officially clicker trained, but he does know that the clicker means the dogs are getting treats, and so he comes for attention. And so I'm just going to wait for the puppy to come around front again, and preferably not in my lap.
Uh-oh. What? I lost my feed.
And I'm just going to wait. There we go. Oops, bad click. Mine looks like it's fine. Jess is saying she's having problems on her computer, but it looks like it's fine on mine. So if you guys miss anything, this recording will be up afterwards. We're not going to take it down.
Okay.
Oops, we'll go find it. It's right there. Good job. So I'm going to try not to throw them quite so far, just for... Good. So that time he actually gave me eye contact, which was excellent. Good. So now that he's offered me eye contact a couple times, I'm going to click very specifically for eye contact, not for just kind of giving me his general attention. He's going to go exploring some more. But I want him to discover on his own that all the value is with me. That working with me is where all the value is. Good. All right, so then we're just going to try one more thing with the clicker. We're going to see if we can teach him a nose target to my hand. So I'm going to hold my hand out. 90% of dogs will touch it because they're curious and they're going to sniff. And then when he does that, I'll click. So I'm clicking the moment that his nose touches my hand. And the reason we do this is one of the very first things is because it helps him understand what the clicker means, that he has to do something in order for the click to happen. And it's also a really important foundation behavior that we're going to use later on to build all kinds of things, from healing to alerts to all sorts of other stuff. Good. You do one more? Excellent. So then I'm going to do one more thing with him in his very first little training session here, because I think I'm about to lose him. And we always want to quit our training sessions before we lose the animal, and he is just a puppy, so he's been training for almost 5 or 10 minutes, and that's pretty good. I need a couple more treats, though. Come here. This last thing we're going to do is I'm going to work on teaching him to accept having his collar grabbed. So I'm going to, whoops, I don't have treats in the hand. So he thinks there are treats in that hand. I'm going to show him that they're not. Grab his collar, hand him a treat, and then let go. And so this is an important thing for him to be used to. I'm going to have to grab his collar a lot throughout training, right? We're going to actually be holding his collar to teach things in formal training sessions. I also need to be able to grab his collar when he's off leash and I need to hook him back up. I also need to be able to grab his collar in any kind of emergency situation. So the last thing we want is for me to reach for his collar and him to go, oh, ooh, don't do that. So right from his very first training session, we're going to mix in these little collar grabs, and we're going to build value for having his collar touched and for being in nice and close. Now from an advanced beginnings perspective, this is doing a couple of things. Okay, so one, it's of course, what we just talked about is really important for me to be able to grab his collar for a bunch of reasons. But it's also a nice game that teaches him the concept of proximity. The concept that hanging out really close to me is really good, and that's where all the good stuff happens. Good job, you're all done. Because if he's going to do, let's say, diabetic alert work, which is almost certainly what he's going to learn to do, is if he's going to be a diabetic alert dog, and he doesn't see the value in hanging out next to his person, and so he decides he wants to take a nap, and he's going to go all the way to the upstairs spare bedroom to do that, he can't catch a blood sugar change if he's on another floor. Okay, as a diabetic alert dog, we want him to stick close, and we want him to do that voluntarily. So that's it for his very first training session. And if anybody has any questions, we'll hang out here for just a minute or two. Were there any questions yet? Nope.
No, just got
Perfect.
Jackie saying she forgot to put her dogs up when watching the video. So Bart and Shelby were looking for treats every time they heard the click.
Every time they heard the click. Of course.
Linda says everything looks great.
Good. So we'll hang out for just a minute in case anybody has any questions. But otherwise, we're going to be live again next week. We haven't quite chosen the topic. We're going back and forth. But we're going to go live every week at noon. And in the meantime, if you want to see more about the order in which we teach things and kind of our whole overview on service dog training, I will post a link to our free service dog training roadmap, and you can download that, and that will show you kind of how we break service dog training down. We've got 4 categories we use, where we break it down, and then I put it in the exact order that we teach things, so that you can kind of see the overview that we do and know where you should kind of be working towards with your own dogs. And then if you have any other questions, just put them in the comments and we'll try and answer them. All right, have a great day.